chapter 11, verse 12. Yiftach sent emissaries to the king of the people of Ammon, saying, "What is there between you and me that you have come to make war in my land?" And the king of people of Ammon said to Yiftach's emissaries, "Because Israel took away my land when it ascended from Egypt, from Arnon to the Yabok to the Jordan. So now return them in peace." So if you think about this, this is a few hundred years after we left Egypt, and Ammon is claiming that they want their land back because we took it from them 300 years earlier. Now, the good thing about Yiftach is that he had a PhD in history from Harvard University. He knew all the details of the history, and he sent emissaries to the king of the people of Ammon with all the history right there and clearly written out. Even though I'm guessing those days, I don't know if they had any books of history, but he wrote a letter he sent these emissaries with this information, and he told them clearly what the history is. So Yiftach once again, we're in verse 14. Yiftach once again sent emissaries to the king of the children of the people of Ammon, and he said to him, "So said Yiftach, Israel did not take away the land of Moab and the land of the people of Ammon."
Rabbi?
Yeah.
He knows it because he was born there. So as a child, he heard all the stories probably before of the wars and what happened.
Okay. You mean he didn't go to Harvard?
He was born in the Gilad.
Okay,
he
fine.
went to Harvard to graduate, but...
Okay, no problem. He had the history from his family, his parents. He was part of it.
Right.
He knew some of it,
Right.
but he wasn't there when they left Egypt.
Right.
He would have been hundreds of years old. But he had it, a tradition. Yeah. Maybe all the Jewish people knew. It's very possible that there's very, these were the stories that they were repeated. They studied they knew their history.
This is written in the Torah. The king of Edom said, "You can't cross our country; you have to go around it." So it's already written in a book that he has.
True. A good point, Will. That's a good point. But you're right. Okay, the truth is you're right. This is
1 week a year. Every year.
I take it back. It's all in the Torah. Although there is a part of it that's not about the Moav thing. The Moav thing is actually a tradition.
Oh.
So there is a little thing. So I'm not 100% wrong. There's some truth to what I said.
Well,
you needed to know a little history.
Some country that they wanted to go through, and they said, "No, you can't go through. We'll fight you." Wasn't wrong?
No. So so Edom and there definitely were countries like that. But anyway, in the Torah it doesn't mention all the detail. Here it's actually the source that he actually asked that the Jewish people asked Moav. But okay, so let me read it inside. So Yiftach once again sent emissaries to the king, and he said to them, "So said Yiftach, Israel did not take away the land of Moab and the land of the children of Ammon. But when they ascended from Egypt, Israel went into the wilderness until the Sea of Reeds, and then they arrived in Kadesh. Israel sent emissaries to the king of Edom, saying, 'Let me now pass through your land.' But the king of Edom did not take heed, and that it says in the Torah. It sent also to the king of Moab, but he was not willing. So Israel dwelt in Kadesh. And it went through the wilderness and went around the land of Edom and the land of Moab, and came to the land of Moab from the east, where they encamped across the Arnon, but they did not enter the border of Moav, for the Arnon is the border of Moav. So we're going through the specific details of their travels, and then Israel sent emissaries to Sichon, the king of the Amorites, the king of Heshbon, and Israel said to him, "Let us now pass through your land until my place." In other words, until Israel. But Sichon did not trust Israel to pass through its border, his border. Rather, Sichon assembled his people, and they encamped at Yotzah, and he made war against Israel. And then Hashem, God of Israel, delivered Sichon and his entire people into the hand of Israel, and they struck them down, and Israel took possession of the entire land of the Amorite, the inhabitants of that land. They took possession of the entire territory of the Amorite, from Arnon to the Yabok, and from the wilderness to the Jordan. So we got the lands. Who did we get these lands from? Sichon. That's so far what we've seen. We got some land from Sichon.
Rabbi, I think God told the Jewish people not to fight Edom, not to aggravate Edom.
You are
So
correct.
they had to go around them.
So basically, Hashem told us not only Edom, Ammon, Moav, and Edom, and the only territories that we did conquer was Sichon Melech HaEmori, Sichon the Amorite king, and Og Melech HaBashan, Og the king of Bashan. But now, the point it really is that part of Sichon's land originally did belong to Ammon, because Sichon conquered some of Ammon's land. Right. And so Ammon is now asking us to give back the land. The problem is they should have gotten it back from Sichon when Sichon had it. They should have complained 250 years ago or 300 years ago when we got it. They're complaining now. We didn't take it from them. We didn't bother them. We didn't hurt them. We didn't kill them. We took it from Sichon. So, why do they think they have a claim now about it? To the extent that we even took a long detour around these countries in order not to fight with them. Now, Yiftach mentioned about the Sea of Reeds because he wants to bring about that, you're fighting not against just the Jewish people, you're fighting against Hashem, the master of the world. And you might not want to go, keep on fighting. You might want to back off. So we're up to verse 23 now. Verse 23, and now Hashem, the God of Israel, has driven out the Amorite because of his people Israel. Yet you would possess it. And what that means is that Hashem gave it to us and you want it. Surely whatever your God, Kamosh, will let you possess, that you shall possess. And whatever Hashem has driven away before us and given us, that we shall possess. what this means is that, don't try and claim this land from us if your own God, Kamosh, didn't save it for you, and he didn't help. He didn't help you protect it. You lost it. So whatever is meant for you, and you believe in your God, so that's what's meant. And don't expect it. Don't feel that we owe it to you. And what's interesting is that it talks about Kamosh. He talks about the past, the whatever he talks about the future. When he talks about Hashem, he talks about the past. Whatever Kamosh will give you, whatever Hashem gave us. So why is he saying that? Jumps from one tense to the other tense, and the answer is because Kamosh, of course, never gave them anything yet. So all he could say is, whatever Kamosh will ever give you, if you ever think he's ever going to get you anything, this false God, that was the God of the Ammonites, whatever he's going to get you, if he's ever going to get you anything, also implying like he doesn't want to admit that he has any power. So he's saying if he ever gets you anything, then let him get it for you. But he can't say anything about the past because he never got them anything. And he doesn't want to imply like anything came in his merit, But when it talks about Hashem, everything we have is from Hashem. Now we continue in verse 24. Surely whatever your God Kamosh will let you possess, that you shall possess in the future. Whatever God has driven away before us, that we possess, we shall possess. And now, are you any better than Balak the son of Tzipor, the king of Moab? Did he pursue any grievance against Israel, or did he make any war against them? And what that means is that Moab lost some of their land to the Amorites, and so Moab doesn't have any claim against us. We got it from the Amorites. We didn't get it from Moab. So Moab has no claim. He might have wanted, he was nervous of us. Balak, the king, if you remember in the Chumash, Balak was nervous of the Jewish people, but did he pursue any grievance against us for taking the land? No, because we didn't take it from him. We took it from Sichon. Now, so why should you be upset? That's basically what Yiftach is claiming. And while Israel dwelt in Heshbon and its suburbs, in Aroyer and its suburbs, and in all the cities that are near Arnon for 300 years, why did you not recover them during that time? Why are you coming now? I have not sinned against you, Yiftach tells the king of Moab, but you have done me wrong to make war against me. Let Hashem, the judge, decide today between the children of Israel and the children of Ammon. Now, the commentaries here try to work out the exact calculation of these numbers, 300 years from the Exodus of Egypt. So they left Egypt in the year 2442. They left Egypt in the year 2448, and Joshua led the Jewish people when they came to Israel, 2488. So which is around when they conquered these lands, because it was right before they entered the land of Israel. So in the year 2488 is when they entered the land of Israel, And now we're going to calculate 300 years from then to now. So the first Shofet was Sneal ben Kenaz. So first you have Joshua led for the first 28 years until he passed away, and so you had Joshua's 28 years until he died. I think at 100 he was 110 years old, and then Sneal, the first Shofet, the first judge, led for 40 years. So we've so far 68 years, and there's Ehud ben Gera, and he was led for 80 years, and 18, and then we have Devorah led for 40 years.
Be right back.
Okay.
20 years. I'm sorry. 7 years of Midianite domination, where we didn't have a judge, and then Gidon led for 40 years. Avimelech led for 3 years. Tola led for 23 years. Yair, which we just mentioned in the previous chapter, 22 years. And now we're 18 years after Ammon domination. So if you add all that together, it comes to 300 years. So this is where Yiftach had all of his calculations and told this to the king of Ammon. Now, some people, they sort of do what they want, even if you can prove them wrong. And that's what maybe a lot of people are that way. And this is the story of the Ammonite king. And here we're in verse 28. But the king of the people of Ammon did not heed the words of Yiftach, which he sent to him. And so Yiftach tried very nicely to talk logically and didn't work. So he says, okay, then we got to work. Then we got to do things, take a different path. And 29, a spirit of Hashem was upon Yiftach. Ruach Hashem, a spirit of Hashem. And he passed through the Gilad and Manasseh, and he passed through the mitzvah of Gilad, and from the mitzvah of Gilad he passed through to the children of Ammon. So just to give you a little understanding of the geography here, the people of Ammon are on the east side of the Jordan River. So this is in the area where Manasseh is, Reuven, and Gad, 2.5 tribes, are on this side of the river. And that's where their main base, the Ammon base, was. Now, the Ammonites did try to, were affecting the Jewish people, even on, as we read before. But their main location was in the east of the Jordan, and that's
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
No, just use 31 Yorkshire Drive, East Windsor, New Jersey.
Just 1 second here. Let me try to mute everyone.
Yes. No.
Okay, now that I've muted everyone, should be a little better, a little clearer. So we're at verse 30. The commentaries do talk about why he went through all these lands. What was he doing by going through verse 29, that he passed through the Gilad and Menashe, and he passed through the mitzvah of Gilad, and from the mitzvah of Gilad, he passed through to the children of Ammon. So, of course, he was passing through just to get there. That would be like a simple explanation, but
there looks like
there
there
is
was
an
fighting going on. Looks like there was fighting going on.
Where do you see that?
Well, I mean, from 23 going down, it says he keeps traveling through those lands and they encounter these other groups. And it's like it's a push for survival to get through them to where he wants to go.
Yeah, but that's all the history of the last 300 years. It's not talking about now.
But couldn't it have been cumulative over the process of the years?
Yeah, no, it is cumulative over 300. Well, not exactly, actually, because he's not really talking about, he's saying that this story is a 300-year-old story, and that's really where he ended about the Balak, and that was all 300 years ago. So it really was, there's a big gap over here. And now he just says, I'm about to go to war. He finished his discussion, his speech about the 300 years ago. After 300 years, you sort of gave up, and it's a little late to start complaining. And your claim is pretty bad anyway. It's a pretty weak claim. It's a hard, has nothing to stand on. And in addition to being 300 years old. And then he says, okay, you're not going to, you don't care about my logic? No problem. We're going to have to go to fight. And so that's what he's about to do. And he's passing through these lands.
Right.
So,
but in line 30, I mean, essentially says that if he's allowed to do it, but it sounds like there's some engagement and it's not positive. If you will indeed deliver the children of Ammon into my hand, it doesn't mean they're kissing cousins. That then it shall be that whatever emerges, what will emerge from the doors of my house toward me when I return in peace from the children of Ammon. I mean, once war is over, he's in peace. No? I mean, but it's been a cumulative process. That's the way I read it.
So you're not wrong. There is a commentary that explains that the reason he passed through these lands is because there were agents of Ammon in each of these lands, and he sort of defeated them along the way.
Right.
But I don't think it's clear from the verse. I think the only source of it is the fact that it mentions it. Why is it telling us he passed through these lands? So therefore, there's reason to say it must be because the Ammonites had forces in each of these lands, and he had defeated them along until he fights the main army. So he's just knocking off. He's stopping in the local little bases and knocking them off. But in any event, now comes a very I think this is a very sad part of this story. It sort of like ruined the whole beauty of everything that he did, Yiftach. And this is what he does. In a certain sense, he meant well, but we'll see how it turned into a real awful outcome. Verse 30 says, Yiftach declared a vow to Hashem. And he wants to make a promise. And that makes a lot of sense because it's appropriate to make a vow to Hashem in order to merit success in anything, in anything that you're praying for. So there is reason to make a vow. Let's say a person has a major opportunity. So we'll say, Hashem, I want to give, I'm giving now $1,000 to charity, and I hope, I'll be successful in this new endeavor. I'm going to help out this, doing this special mitzvah in the merit of that. Something good should happen. Someone should be healed, or so. It's a great, it's very important to make a vow. However, anyone, if a person can't, whatever they're capable of doing, that's what, vow to on their level. So the thing is, that's very apropos. It's very, very appropriate. But here, what does he say? He tells Hashem, if you indeed deliver the children of Ammon into my hand, then it shall be that whatever emerges, what will emerge from the doors of my house toward me, when I return in peace from the children of Ammon, it shall belong to Hashem, and I shall offer it up as an elevation offering. So,
but the next line says that he goes to battle against the children of Ammon.
Of course he's going to go to battle now, but he didn't get there yet to Ammon.
Okay, all right.
Right? But he's on his way. It's telling you that he's traveling there. There's no question. He's on his way to battle. And the reason he's battling is because the king of Ammon was refused to talk logically and, just like laughed off his words. So he's now, he's going to battle. So he's on his way and he makes this vow. And his vow is that whatever emerges from the doors of his house is going to be an offering, an elevation offering, which means it's going to be totally burnt to Hashem. It's going to be slaughtered and burnt. Now, I don't know if he was thinking, it's a very surprising line to say. Now, maybe he had goats in his house. I don't know what he kept in his house. Did he have a cow inside his house? He's talking about things that are going to emerge from the doors of his house. He's going to make an elevation offering. But anyway, then Yiftach crossed in 32. Here we have the war. And in the war, Yiftach crossed to the children of Ammon to do battle against them. And Hashem delivered them into his hand. And he struck them from Aroer until your approach to Minas, 20 cities, until the plain of El Krumim, a very great blow. And the children of Ammon were subdued before the children of Israel. I should mention that I believe this is the Haftarah of Parsha Chukas. So you could look it up. There might be other commentaries in your Chumashim. People have commentaries on the Haftorahs. You never know. You might be able to find some interesting stuff. But this is the story of Yiftach, and he conquered, he defeated Ammon. Great miracle. Now we're in verse 34. Yiftach arrived at Mitzpah to his home, and behold, his daughter was coming out towards him with drums and dances. And she was an only child. He did not have a son or daughter from her. And when he saw her, he tore his clothes and said, "Alas, my daughter, you have brought me to my knees. You have joined those who trouble me. I have opened my mouth to Hashem, and I cannot recant." And this is a very sad part of the story. Yiftach foolishly made this vow that whatever leaves the door of his house when he wins this war, he's going to bring it as a sacrifice. And sure enough, his daughter walked out of the door.
Rabbi,
Yeah.
I have a question. By this time in Israel's history, was human sacrifice already considered, banished and stuff, or wasn't it?
Well, it's in the Torah that it's prohibited.
Right. And he knew Torah, right? So just because you vow to do so, if you vow to do something and then it ends up being against Torah, are you still allowed to do it? It's kind of weird to me. Anyway. like,
so the reason I think that this is even discussed here, the reason why this is an issue is because a vow is I think this is why he foolishly made this decision. And you're right. According to Torah, he would not have been allowed to do this, but he understood how severe a vow is and how important it is to keep a vow. And I think because of his understanding of the power of a vow, that is why he felt it overrides maybe the Torah law. And it's almost like it's yes, Ben.
I think he missed one word in his vow. He probably was supposed to say any animal that comes out of my house.
Right,
But
right.
he didn't say that, and that was the problem.
Well, on the other hand, one of the things that I'm getting from studying the books of the prophets, the people in those days seem to have been very, very rough and very strong-minded, and they would do. I mean, if you look at the other story, like the people of Ephraim, we're going to see again that they're going to come up again, and they're going to be upset that Yiftach didn't ask them to help. And they don't just say, we're insulted. They say, we're going to burn down your house. Like there's a lot of roughness here that we find. It's almost like they didn't. They were so strong in their minds. Whatever they decided in their mind, they were going to do it no matter what. There is some element of that I see, and I don't know how that changed or how but the men felt like they do whatever they want to. There's a lot of bloody wars that I guess they saw, maybe that attributed to this feeling. But Yiftach, I mean, what type of, even if he felt that it's he's supposed to do this, let's say, and he's supposed to bring his daughter up as a sacrifice, most people would just say, okay, I'm going to sin. I'm not doing it. It's like the idea that not only did he make the vow, which that itself shows maybe he was like ready to do anything, say a vow, and he's going to, but then when it comes to actually doing it, as if he's going to, he's going to fulfill it. It's surprising. It is a little surprising.
I see here that maybe that's the reason that God gave the Jews that territory, because the nations that lived there probably were even rougher than that. And he says, I'm going to take it away from them and give it to you. But the Jews, it rubbed off a little bit on the Jews. And that's what's showing up. Those are the people that lived there before them and still live between them,
Right.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
I've lost something in translation. When we go on to 34 and it says a yichtah, he beholds his daughter and she comes out with drums and dances. To me, that means celebration. But then he says, that you have joined those who trouble me. I have opened my mouth to Hashem and I cannot recant. So what did I miss that identifying his daughter, since he had, and he had nobody else to welcome him. And then he's saying that she's troubled him and he can't open his mouth to God. So what did I miss in translation somewhere?
What you missed was a very sad part, and that is that he made a vow that anyone who comes out of his house, he's going to slaughter them. The first person that comes out of his house, the first item that comes out of his house, he's going to make an elevation offering. And sure enough, it's his daughter. So he feels he's now going to have to bring his daughter as an elevation offering. In his mind, he thinks he's supposed to.
But wouldn't his daughter have been an exception because he's come home and she comes out to greet him? So to me, it's not that it's an aggressive, but it's a celebratory relationship.
Of course, she's all excited. But the problem is he made a vow.
Yeah,
and his vow, he feels that he has to keep, which is true. A vow is a very important thing. But the first thing I would say was he was wrong for saying his vow in that way. It's good to take a vow, and good to make a promise to charity or to do a mitzvah or something like that. But to make a vow that whoever leaves your house, it might be a person might leave. I mean, who knows? You're going to slaughter, bring it as a sacrifice to Hashem.
His only child, his daughter.
It turns out it's his only child. What about if it was his wife? I mean, that would also be pretty bad.
No, I agree.
What about if it was his grandmother? Just like, how can you say such a thing? That's the first mistake. Then the second thing is that, is he supposed to keep such a vow? Even if he made the vow, now does it actually take effect? Because there's also a prohibition of murder. So you have a prohibition of murder, and you have an obligation to keep an oath. So what is supposed to happen? So the rabbis of the Medrash, they mention that in this situation, a person would be obligated. One opinion is it would be obligated to put the monetary value of his daughter and bring sacrifices, which I don't know how you can evaluate. I don't know if it means the erchin that the Torah talks about, and that each person has a certain value, or if it would be like if a person was to be sold as a slave, how much they would be worth. So I'm not sure what the Medrash is specifically referring to, but that would be the value that he would end up supposed to bring as he would have to bring it as a donation or as sacrifices. And the other opinion is that the whole vow doesn't apply to a person in the first place, and so it has no legal effect in the first place. Now, so those are the first. That's number two. So first of all, he should never have made the vow. Second of all, the vow didn't have any effect on killing. Now, the third point is that there was another rabbi, a great man of the generation, that could have annulled the vow, and his name was Pinchas. And there is a concept of annulment of a vow. And the surprising thing is that why didn't Pinchas go and try to annul the vow of Yiftach? And why didn't Yiftach go to Pinchas and try to annul the vow? And so what we see here is that Pinchas had a reason, because he felt that he is the greatest man of the generation. It's not appropriate for him to go and lower himself. Let Yiftach come to him. In the meantime, Yiftach was too arrogant and refused to go to Pinchas. Now, he's got to be very arrogant to do such a crazy thing, not to humble himself to instead to take a sacrifice of his daughter. But again, we're talking about, and as Ben mentioned, that maybe they learned from the nations around them. This is there was a certain roughness that they had to life and to, and just doing things. And I also see it that Yiftach was very, there are certain people that they're very proud to keep their word no matter what. It shows their strength. And maybe he had that foolish way of thinking of how he's gonna, no matter what, he keeps his word. And even though it's true, a person should keep everything they say, especially a vow, but there does have to be a limit. It's all about Hashem. It's not about you showing off how strong you are and how you keep everything that comes out of your mouth. You are a man of your word. And so it seems that I'm not saying this from any commentary, but I'm just from my own understanding. It sounds like he, maybe he was a certain type of individual. I know most people are the exact opposite. They never keep their word, but there are some people that they're very proud of how they keep everything. There are some people that are very proud of I'm a man of my word, and that's good. It's a very good thing. It's a tremendous thing. But why are you a man of your word? Because you show off? Because you want to show off that you're a man of your word? That's what Yiftach was. It seems like he was a man who was so proud that he can even go around telling people, look at what he did. He really kept his word. I mean, this is a man of his word. I don't know if he's expecting any major business deals afterwards because he's a man of his word, but I mean, this is a man of his word.
This is his only child, his daughter. By killing her, denies the continuation of his seed. Okay.
Right.
So maybe we have to go back to the sacrifice of Isaac. I try to understand the rationale that's a part of that thinking. I don't know the rigidity. Well. But then it's a devotion to something.
Right. So with Abraham and Isaac, good point, Robert. But with Abraham, at least this was what God told him. God said, sacrifice your son. Here, he's thinking, well, I made a vow. I guess I got to keep it. But that's interesting, an interesting connection that he felt, listen, this is a mitzvah. He's got to do it. And Hashem made it that his daughter would come out of the house at that moment. So maybe you're right. That's an interesting point, Robert.
Yeah.
Right? Hashem arranged that his daughter would come out when he was coming. That's a good point. Okay, Ben.
I think that Yiftach in his childhood was told that he's a nothing. Get out of here. You're nobody. What are you doing here? So he's trying to prove that he is a good man.
He's not a nevish, right?
He's a man of his word.
A man of his word. Good point.
Right.
Okay, I like
So
you're adding to my
thought.
Very nice, Ben. You're giving me a little additional fuel to my thought. So anyway, this Yiftach.
Okay.
Now it is unclear, and we're going to conclude with this. It's not clear if he actually did bring his daughter as a sacrifice. There are different opinions among the commentaries if he did. It doesn't say clearly if he did. One opinion, there are opinions that he didn't sacrifice her, but he had her like locked up in solitude. Another opinion is that he did sacrifice her. The verses continue. Maybe we'll just do another verse or two. Let's see, 359. Where are we up to here? Verse 36. She said to him, "My father, you have opened your mouth to Hashem. Do to me according to what has gone out of your mouth, since Hashem has wreaked vengeance for you against your enemies, against the children of Ammon." But she said to her father, let this thing be done for me. Let me be for 2 months, and I shall go and wail upon the mountains and weep over my virginity, I and my friends. In other words, I don't have any kids. I was never married. Let me weep, and me and my friends. He said, go, and he sent her off for 2 months. She went with her friends. He wept over and wept over her virginity upon the mountains. At the end of 2 months, she returned to her father. He carried out with her the vow that he vowed, and she never knew a man. This became a practice in Israel. From year to year, the daughters of Israel will go to lament with the daughter of Yiftach, the Gileadite, 4 days a year. So he definitely did something. What did they lament? Did they go to her grave 4 days a year, or did they actually go to her? Did he lock her up? That's the other view, that he locked her up. She wasn't able to get married. That was his vow. Anyway, however you learn it, it's a very sad story. And